Mark Rogers TV, SEC breakdown, breaking down every positional unit across the conference. We don't leave out the special teams here, so we cover everything, and we're talking Gators on special teams. And, of course, what Antonio Callaway did last year was pretty special against two of the best teams in college football. But let's talk kicker first, David, because Austin Hardin was not so good. We're going to be kind. 5 of 14. The kicking for a program as stout as Florida was, generational disaster, something that you see about once every 20 years. Set up the kickers for us, because we did see Eddie Piniero boot the 50-yarders in the spring game. I think he was like 4 out of 6. And so he's got the leg. We don't know if he can do it under pressure, but how does the place kicking look at this point?
Yeah, Mark, you could say it was 4 of 6, but I guess the way Florida wanted to do it was 3 of 5, and he hit a 52-yard, 46-yard, and a 56-yard attempt. And he missed a 54-yarder and a 52-yarder. But also, it's kind of a joke, but also very important. Like you said, we can't really joke about the special teams just because of how much of a joke Florida was last year. He also hit all 5 of his extra points. That's not to be overlooked with as bad as it looked for the Gators last year. We joked, you and I, we had our, it's kind of Florida spring review after the spring game. And we joked that, and it's really sad that it came to this, but the loudest applause of the spring game is when Eddie Piniero hit his extra points and definitely his first field goal. Florida fans, it was an embarrassment last year of what was happening there. Florida's had a pretty good history of kickers, most recently Caleb Sturgis, who was, lights out in 2012. And and Austin Hardin come in after that as one of the, I think the top-rated kicker recruit in the nation, and just never lived up to that billing. Piniero comes in with all the accolades of his YouTube videos of him booming 70-yard field goals and trick shot field goals, and I don't think he'll get to use those trick shots in the game, but the 70-yarders and stuff, it's going to be interesting, I think, to see what will McElwain, like at the end of a first half, if he ever gives Piniero the chance to hit something around 65 yards or so, seeing that there's videos out there that he can do it, but we all know that in a game is a whole different scenario. And speaking of that, Piniero has never really kicked a field goal in an actual game. He's had some extra points kicked in before, but not field goals. So we see what he can do in the spring game. We've seen what he can do in YouTube videos, but it's still going to be a lot different when he can put the pads and the helmet on and go against a real live rush that's looking to block the kick and do anything they can do to stop it.
David, it's like the bad umpire, the bad referee. If you've got good officials on the field, you don't notice them. So when you got the kicker that comes out and hits the 38-yarder like he's supposed to after you miss on 3rd and 5, then you just don't notice, because you're supposed to have those points on the scoreboard. But if they're missing those, then all of a sudden, wow. And what a difference it makes for Florida offense that we expect to be better, but don't expect to be great. You've got to get points once you get close to the red zone, because you don't convert the 3rd down. You got to get the points that are scarfed up by most teams. And you may be playing some nail biters for the division championship, and you got to get those kicks in the clutch from 40, 45 yards with seconds left. The punter's the same deal. If he's booting them 40 or 45 yards, you're in good shape. And Johnny Townsend seems to be doing that at 45.6 last year. But obviously, if your punter is shanking at 27 yards, all of a sudden this guy needs to get off the field. So you got to be pretty pleased with Townsend.
Have to be. All SEC performer, Ray Guy Award semifinalist. He ranked 3rd in nationally, Mark, in the 45.6 yards punting that you mentioned there. He's pretty consistent. Florida can always just count on him, and he's been one reason that Florida's defense has been so good. He puts some offenses in some bad field positions, and it ends up helping the offense. So, like Mark, you just mentioned, the offense needs every bit of help it can get right now. But there's punters don't get a lot of love, but Townsend's definitely one of the most valuable players on the Florida team. Like I said, he helps the whole team with defense, being able to put teams in bad field position, and it ends up helping the offense. So, we look for that to continue. It's hard to look at, special teams and overlook what the job Johnny Townsend has done.
Yeah, there's so much hidden yardage here, and Antonio Callaway on the plus side of the hidden yardage. with a kick return against LSU, a punt return, I should be saying, against LSU and against Alabama in the SEC championship game. So despite the offensive woes, at one point, I think you were up 7-2 and you were only 2 points behind. I think at halftime, it was a close game, and it was Callaway that produced the points, and he's pretty special.
Right. He sparked the comeback with his punt return against LSU. Florida offense was struggling with his first game with Treon Harris. He gets the punt return and kind of just, lit a spark in that offense. And Mark, you mentioned the SEC championship game, basically got Florida's, main points that was when the game was still a game, gave Florida the lead till late in the first half. So Antonio Callaway, we know what he does, what he can do at receiver, and we mentioned what he can do at punt return. It helps the whole team. Punt return is kind of like a double or triple in baseball. It can set and lead up to more, and that's what it did with Antonio Callaway in Florida. It was always at a good point, and and also it didn't necessarily have to be a touchdown. He also put the offense in great field positions, but it didn't necessarily get a touchdown. So Antonio Callaway, probably definitely one of the most valuable players because of what he can do at receiver and what he can do when he at punt return.
If you look at the special teams numbers for most teams, they mix it up at kickoff return and punt return, get a few guys out there. But Callaway, he returned just about every punt. Brandon Powell, just about every kickoff, 24 of them. Didn't have outstanding stats. Do you expect that job to stay the same?
Yeah, if you put two back there, I think also Florida will also look at the other slot receiver, Dre Massey, junior college transfer. He's 5'9", 183, could win the role. He's shifty, athletic. I think we can go back and look at Powell as well. Was he had a big time foot injury last year that kind of maybe held him back just a bit. There were times when you thought he could break one, but he just never could. But with that, if not, I do look for Dre Massey to take that. He is a playmaker. Camp started for a couple weeks now, and he seems to be at the slot receiver position one of the biggest playmakers for Florida so far. So I think what Florida is seeing in him is when he gets his hands in the ball, he can do something. So with the Florida offense being an unknown right now and struggling in recent years, Florida will, I think, probably look to get one of their best playmakers back there at returning kicks and try and get that offense in better starting field position.
So while Townsend and Callaway provided the true special teams for Florida in 2015, it was the frustrating teams that was provided by the place kickers. Hopefully that's shored up here in 2016. Join us on SEC Breakdown. It's Facebook, it's Twitter, our YouTube channel, where we have plenty of content provided by David, myself, Chad Niebling, and Mike Laval. All right, Florida special teams in the book, David.